30 Odd Minutes is sponsored in part by Digital Dowsing. Who are you powered by?
For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard. We will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Hey! Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. It's great to have you guys aboard the mothership. We've set her down on hover right here above planet Earth. And it looks beautiful out there tonight. You guys look great down there. We love seeing you. Of course, we want to say hello to our good friends, Matt and Andrew in the control room. How are you guys?
Whoa. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Listen, keep her steady. You know, we're talking about the UFO Singularity tonight. Do you know what that is?
Kind of.
Kind of, sort of?
Not really.
We're going to learn together. Everything going okay?
So far, so good.
Right. Everything running?
Yeah, kind of.
All right, good deal. Okay. Matt and Andrew, thank you. The UFO Singularity, we've got a UFO clip to show you a little later in the show that some claim is just a regular old airplane. You be the judge. But of course, we want to check in with Laura, the new girl. How are you, Laura? What's going on?
I'm so good. I love being the new girl. There's perks to that. But I have to say, it's been a week, and I'm so excited to have actually been abducted or whatever it is that you guys did to me. I love it. I love it here. I'm staying. And the view, by the way, oh my God, you guys have to see it. It's like incredible. It's incredible.
It is pretty out there.
Love it.
Beautiful. So what's up this week?
So we want to say hello to ACC TV in Carson City, Nevada. Yay! Hello, ACC TV. Now, we want to say thank you very much for holding a skywatch for us, but do remember that our ship is cloaked, so you're never going to see us coming until we're right there. So keep a watch out, but no, you're just never going to see us coming. That's it.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
And we do have an email from our dear regular viewer, Danny in Toledo, Ohio, and he says, "Dear Oddballs, my neighbor still has his Christmas lights up almost a month after the holidays. Can you give me a compelling reason for him to take them down?" I don't really know, Danny. I can't think of anything. Can you guys?
I think I got something, Andy. Bear in mind that the color spectrum that's used in Christmas lights is what our targeting system for our lasers kind of lock on. So I think that would be a good reason to take them down.
Yeah, I'd leave them up. It's too cold. Get into the spring. Safer that way.
Okay.
Good advice.
Yep.
Glad you guys are up here and not down on Earth solving problems. Oof. I love you all dearly. Okay, so we asked Dr. Dreck this week, what do you think about aliens, UFOs, and I guess they get pesky. Take a look.
Greetings, oddballs. Dr. Dreck here, and I have a problem. No, not that problem. I have a problem with alien pests infesting my lab. They're all over the place. You know, those really, really nasty Santies? Oh, there's one now. Get out of here. Oh, those Santy misfits drive me crazy. Anyway, one good thing about floating around here in space is that you can get alien help cheap. So I called up the Triple D Extermination Agency to get rid of these Zanties, and they're right here now. You can come right in and start exterminating. I'm ready to exterminate. Well, good. That's just what I want you to do. Exterminate. Go on. Hey, all right. I mean, you don't have to get so huffy about it. Come on, exterminate. Exterminate. Oh, well, that's what I get for hiring cheap alien help. Yeah, go exterminate yourself, you. The only other thing that bothers me is, how am I able to breathe in a vacuum?
Dr. Dreck, thank you very much. And,
we've got him at a tractor beam. He's all set, Jeff.
Should we help him?
Quit blowing holes in our ship, sir. That's all I can say. All right, let's get to the subject. Could it be that our technological leaps of the last century are due in part to some outside influences? Are these leaps accelerating? And if so, where will it lead humanity and our planet, and when? Tonight we're discussing something our guest calls the UFO Singularity, the origins of greater-than-human intelligence. He's the founder of GralienReport.com, a contributor to publications such as Fate Magazine, Intrepid Magazine, and the Journal of Anomalous Sciences. You've seen him on National Geographic Channel, History Channel, and tonight he makes his 30-odd minutes debut, beaming to the mothership live from Asheville, North Carolina. Please welcome Micah Hanks.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
How we doing? Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Good to be on here.
We're great. Now, listen, I know you talk about UFOs in your book, and Gralien Report, my goodness, it's all about. Is this your first show on an actual UFO?
Yeah, I've never actually been. I've been beamed on board a UFO, never broadcast from a UFO, so this is a first even for me.
Well, congratulations. We hope to make a believer out of you in under 30 minutes, if we can. So
let's see if we can do it.
All right. Let's start with, what is the UFO Singularity?
Well, when we talk about the UFO singularity, to put it concisely, I think that in the future, technological advances are going to allow us to attain greater than natural levels of human intelligence, okay? And when we reach that, this is what the futurists of today call technological singularity. I would also argue, Jeff, that really once we attain that kind of technology, and we have that at our disposal, and we attain higher than natural levels of what human brain processing is capable of, it may also open the door to new levels of perception, just different ways of seeing the universe in essence. And once that happens, we also may be able to understand certain UFO phenomena a little better. I often wonder if we'll even wonder and worry so often about aliens and extraterrestrials because we may be really on par with them with our own technology.
Now, this is what's so interesting to me. I started thinking about it. I'm not a UFO expert by any means, but I've thought a lot about futurism, and especially the last century. If 1903 is a line in the sand, I know a lot of people like to draw Kitty Hawk. It's when the Wright brothers flew a kite with an engine on it and a guy, for a few seconds. And so from 1903 to 2003, and currently, of course, there's been a lot of technological leaps and bounds. We went from flying this engine kite to landing on the moon to space shuttles to a space station to cable to internet to all of this incredible technology, and it really is accelerating. I know that the principle that computer processing speed doubles every 18 months. What's going on? What's happened in this last century that you believe is causing these leaps?
Well, it's interesting that you brought up a bit about computer processing and the greater than exponential growth in the rate of computer processing. Our computers, they're getting to a point where they can actually handle a lot more than what we can do up here, but this is still the greatest machine that we have at our disposal. What will be interesting is when our machines begin to think and behave more like a mind, a brain, a consciousness. What has changed in terms of the last few years, though, that's led me to think that we're actually getting closer to that, is quite simple. We have so many different kinds of technologies out there right now. And if you think about each individual variety of technology, in each individual area of the sciences, they all kind of influence one another. And so there's this sort of a cumulative effect that the more we have, the more there is. And of course, the more advanced they become, the greater and the more quickly our rate of technological growth increases. It's a little bit greater than exponential. And so really a lot of people look to the future and say, in 100 years, we'll all be driving flying cars and we'll all be hooked in, we'll be able to plug ourselves into a computer in essence. It really could happen a lot sooner because the rate of growth of technology today is actually greater than exponential. So we may be looking at this sort of quote-unquote future technology within maybe the next couple of decades. And that is really what those futurists call that technological singularity. Again, I have to ask, what is that going to do for us in terms of how we look at things that we already know to be perhaps greater than human technologies that we know to exist right now? First thing that comes to mind there is UFOs, in my opinion.
Right, so let's talk about this. So do you think there's been some kind of intervention? Has there been some help along the way in the last century from somewhere else?
Well, you could always speculate that has happened. Many people have looked at incidents like the Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash of 1947, and they'll say, what if those were actually extraterrestrials? And what if we've had a little help along the way? What if we've reverse engineered some kind of a technology that came here from elsewhere? Now, I couldn't tell you whether or not that's the case. I strongly feel, in fact, that there are much greater technologies that humans already have on their plate, so to speak, and that we have at our disposal. And perhaps we've been utilizing these for a good few decades already. And I think that the general public is largely unaware of this sort of a thing. So in the UFO singularity, I not only look at the potentials for how our technology will help us understand the potentials for alien life that may exist elsewhere, I also make the observation, think of the old adage, whatever the government has, they're probably a good couple of decades ahead of us already. If that's the case, and if we're looking at kind of narrowing the gap between advanced singularitarian or future singularity kind of technologies, in the next couple of decades, world governments and could clandestine organizations already have this kind of futuristic technology at their disposal? That's a potential, just as well as the possibility that there may be aliens somehow worked into this equation.
Well, the name of your book is UFO Singularity. So what's the tie-in with UFOs? What's these sightings that have been seen by tons and tons of people, over the years, and certainly even more than the last century. UFO sightings, of course, go back further than that. What is the connection?
Well, you got to remember that UFO means unidentified flying object. A UFO thereby could also be, in addition to what we often suppose UFOs to be, extraterrestrial aircraft and things like that. They could be something entirely different. They could be some sort of an advanced technology from our future that comes, back to our temporal present day, if you would, And if that's the case, that would still, to me, be something that is an earthbound phenomenon, just not something that you or I would have access to right now. Then there's also that potential that we could be dealing with some sort of an interdimensional phenomenon. UFOs could be a whole lot of different things without having to be alien or, some secret government technology that we've been hiding away out there. So I think that when it comes to the UFO singularity, my primary focus has been to try and utilize a way of looking to the future and looking at trends in technology today to look at all of those potentials and explore each of them. And also something interesting that comes to the equation here is that if these kinds of technologies may allow us to become a spacefaring nation, or I guess we'll be a space-faring civilization at that point. If we take off into space, much like we suppose that these UFO craft are capable of doing, the same technologies that allow us to do that will help us to better understand how an alien race out there, somewhere far off in a distant galaxy, might do the very same thing, and it could help us come to an understanding, really, about what alien life out there may be doing.
So in your book, you really do shy away from calling these things ET in origin. And like you said, and like we've speculated, one of the big arguments about, UFOs, I think most intelligent people recognize it's ludicrous to think we're alone in the universe. But there's still the problem of time and space and crossing that distance. And the concept that this is time travelers. And I'm sorry, let me jump, before I jump ahead. One of the points is, why would they care about us? Little old Earth, this little blue ball somewhere in a distant galaxy. Well, if they were time travelers, that would explain it, right? Because they're us. We're their past. They would very much care about us. That certainly could account for that as well. But it's interesting to me, you do shy away from the ET thing. So if this is technology from the future coming back, I mean, are you suggesting maybe that these UFOs are, you didn't quite say it, are they introducing anything other than strange sightings in the sky? And of course the questions, right? They're begging big questions. Are we alone in the universe? What could possibly make a craft, do that? And we know science fiction has driven a lot of science. So are they there to make us dream and keep reaching for those stars? Or what's your thought there? What are they introducing to us?
Those are good questions, Jeff. And I have to say, it could be, again, a combination of all those things. One thing that we have to really kind of take into consideration when we think about UFOs and what these different kinds of strange, unidentifiable craft may be is that they often are seen in conjunction with nuclear weapons facilities, nuclear energy facilities and things like that. They often tend to spike in appearances during wartime just as well, but they don't seem to engage in conflict themselves, at least in most instances. And so what's interesting about the UFOs is that if they were something extraterrestrial, and let's say that they were scientists that were coming to Earth and just observing, just like you or I might enter the Amazonian rainforest, and we would observe and we would try not to interfere with that environment or that habitation. If these ETs are indeed from someplace else, and these UFOs are representative of ETs, extraterrestrials, they definitely kind of withhold from harming and getting directly involved, but they nonetheless do seem to show, without question, they show an interest in the goings-on of planet Earth, especially those things that could be weaponized for nuclear purposes. And so I have to wonder if they have such an interest, even if they aren't out there attacking, or anything like that, if they show such a vested interest in nuclear weapons facilities and things like that, does that mean that their purpose for being there is a little closer to home than we might think? And I think that is something we have to take into consideration. What if they're just as afraid of being wiped out by nuclear weapons and mass destruction of that variety as you or I were, because they actually have something to do with Earth right here as we know it?
Right, and I think it's wonderful that you're enough of a humanitarian to go into that Amazonian rainforest and not interfere. I, on the other hand, would position myself as a god and have them serve all of my crazy needs. And I'd want to be on their currency and stuff. But you're a better man than I, and I would abuse absolute power absolutely. What can I say?
Okay, Captain Kurtz.
All right. Hey, Matt, I want to ask you a question. Matt Moniz, World War II, Foo Fighters, big spike in UFO activity. As Micah was saying, these things seem to be attracted to wartime stuff. What are your thoughts on wartime UFOs? I know we did a whole show on it.
Well, if you really go back in history all the way to Alexander had these daylight discs that helped him in many battles. And of course, there's been reports of these things throughout the centuries up until modern day. You got to remember, man's basic favorite pastime is tribal warfare. So they're always going to be around. There's always some sort of conflict going on.
Right.
But I see no reason why an intelligence from another world also wouldn't be interested. Because remember, our highest technology is always on the battlefield. So
right.
If you want to check and see what you're up against, of course, you want to take a look at what's going on in the battlefields.
Matt, that makes sense. Probably for the same reason we watch football games. Huh? That's their entertainment. They're checking us out. What's that line in the sand, World War II? What is it, Micah? What is it about World War II? What changes in regard to the UFO singularity?
Well, a lot of things. The first thing about UFOs is that I think, if we were to say that nuclear weapons are something that flag the attention of extraterrestrials, it's very likely to me that, the dropping of bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, would have been that point by which an extraterrestrial anywhere nearby or observing Earth casually would say, wow, we could have a real potential issue here. By the same token, we can also say that during the Second World War, there were a lot of innovative technologies that began to appear. And those kinds of technologies may have done one of two things. They could have actually been predecessors to technologies that humankind would utilize to create some of these kind of clandestine crafts, maybe for military purposes. Or by the same token, the perfection of radiation detecting, and surveillance equipment, radar systems, and things like that. We saw probably the greatest increase in the efficiency of those kinds of systems during the Second World War. And of course, we know also that using radar, we can occasionally track certain UFOs. Some, on the other hand, don't show up on radar at all. But prior to the use of radar, we weren't able to clock these things at moving, several thousands of miles per hour, as we see in the Project Blue Book era, which immediately followed the Second World War and on into the 1950s. And even the 1960s. So the Second World War, it is sort of a line in the sand, if you want to think of it along those lines, because we had new technologies at our disposal, and some of those technologies, if they weren't conducive to creating these sorts of things ourselves, they surely could have flagged the attention of extraterrestrials or some other kind of an intelligence out there.
Right. Very good. All right, Micah, we got to take a quick break for the news. We'll come right back and talk more UFO Singularity right after this.
On the morning of January 8th, 2013, people walking on the green in downtown New Haven, Connecticut, discovered that during the night, someone had made patterns in the snow which resembled crop circles. Local TV station WFSB asked author and crop circle researcher Colin Andrews for his opinion on these overnight patterns in the snow. And he said with a smile that they must have been very lazy aliens, probably living right here in New Haven. Andrews has investigated snow circles in the Netherlands, and those patterns had perfect symmetry. There were no tracks in the snow, and the snow removed to make the lines was taken away, not left behind in piles. In other news, only 2 days after New Haven had their snow circle mystery, the residents of Amherst, Massachusetts were talking about a strange UFO they say flew very low and slowly over their town. Take a look at this video captured on a cell phone camera. Witnesses reported that the craft appeared to be roughly diamond-shaped and about 3 times the size of an average car. All of these sightings took place at night, but the folks of Amherst said that they were able to see the object because it was dimly lit by white lights. They also reported that the craft was too slow and too quiet to have been an airplane. One woman watched the UFO from her car as it passed over at no more than 100 feet in the air. Local police say that they did receive one phone call about the UFO and decided not to investigate. The Westover Air Reserve Base has a radar tower located nearby, and they say that there were no flights in the area at that time. Nearly 2 weeks later, a spokesman for the FAA has offered an explanation saying that the craft was a C-5 cargo plane making test runs at the airbase. The C-5 explanation makes sense, assuming the plane was also a transformer. Optimus Prime was not available for comment. Well, we can tell you it wasn't the mothership. However, those snow circles, sounds like something Dreck and Oddbot 3000 would do. I'm just saying. I'm Andrew Lake, and oddly enough, that's the news.
Thank you, Andrew. And we're back. We're talking the UFO Singularity. But first, I want to talk about that video again, because this is interesting. This video popped up a couple weeks ago, and actually the person that took the video is a friend of a friend. Eric, if you wouldn't mind popping that up on the screen again, with the sound this time. What you're looking at, if you hear that sound right now, that was a car passing by. Now, I can't promise you that that's little green men from outer space. But I think we can all agree that that's not a C-5 airplane, which is a really big, there goes a car. If that was a C-5 that close, you would hear nothing but the roar of those engines. Thank you, Eric. Matt, Andrew, what are your thoughts when you saw that video?
I definitely thought it was not a C-5 Galaxy.
No. Matt and I have personally walked through that aircraft. We've seen them up close at air shows. I just don't see how that can be a C-5.
Those big GE engines make a real roar.
Yeah,
I used to live outside the runway of an Air Force base, so I know what they sound like.
They're just huge. I mean, they told me they could put a whole company of paratroopers on the thing.
Right. So, Laura, you're new to this. Now, you saw the video of the lights, and it's one thing if the FAA came out and said, look, we got nothing in the sky that night, I can't tell you what it is, but for them to actually say, oh, that's a C-5, you saw a picture of it. What were your thoughts when you saw the video, Laura?
Well, you're right. I am new to this, so I had a really hard time kind of deciphering what exactly I was seeing. And I know we watched it earlier to kind of get a better idea, get a better angle of looking at it. And I have a hard time explaining that one. And definitely, you're right. It doesn't look like an airplane. There are some lights that are actually moving in a strange motion, which doesn't make sense to an airplane. So it is definitely suspicious, but I'm generally suspicious in general, so if I look at that, I'm not necessarily going to think that's a UFO off the bat. I'll probably come up with some other ways to explain it before I resort to it being a UFO. But
right. Well, it is unidentified.
Yeah, well, Jeff, I also noticed that the military lately have been boasting about their airship technology, their surveillance blimps,
right,
or balloons, if you will.
Lighter than aircraft.
Yeah, exactly. But I've heard some good arguments that these aircraft have been shown, and again, they're nothing like what these people were describing.
Right. And again, we don't know what they are. They are unidentified, where they're from. Micah, your thoughts when you saw this video clip?
Well, Jeff, I'll just say this, and I think this probably mirrors the same sentiments that those of you on the mothership there probably feel about this. Often the official explanations that are given for these kinds of anomalous aerial phenomenon are a little more ridiculous than the supposition that it's something unconventional. Didn't look like a conventional aircraft there to me. Then again, it's a little bit difficult to see through the lens of the all-seeing camera eye here. Right. But from what I can see, it didn't sound like was it a C-5? Was it a C-5?
C-5, yeah. Honestly, like this was a clip I was perfectly willing to just let go until today when the announcement came that it's a C-5, and you went, well, wait a minute. The conspiracy was born today, not weeks ago. So interesting stuff. All right, I want to talk a little bit about transhumanism. It's a theme in your book. The idea that we could and should use technology to transform ourselves, evolve, if you will. Can you give us examples of where is this evolution happening on a human scale as opposed to a technological scale?
Well, I think that the singularity archetype is something that it's been with us for a very long time. And, of course, we're seeing some of the artwork there that my younger brother Caleb Hanks supplied for the book that literally depicts, what we would call homo mechanicus, a human kind of cyborg enhanced, human of the future, something along those lines, without even having to get into the discussion about technology, though. Humans tend to be kind of evolving in terms of our thought. And certainly technologies that exist here on Earth today are already kind of changing how we are. Think about this one for just a minute. And this is one that I love to try and ponder because it's changing us on a fundamental level, and literally it affects just about everyone in America. Anyone who's hooked up to the World Wide Web or who watches television, they're going to be used to the information barrage that we get every day. 24-hour news tickers, live coverage all over the place and all the time on our news stations and things like that. And if we don't have it on our televisions, we've got it on our laptop computers. If not there, we've got it on our cell phones, Twitter and Facebook and things like that. And it's so interesting because I see that the World Wide Web is already behaving something like a brain, Jeff. It's taking all the summation of mankind's knowledge and it's collecting it and storing it in a great big database, and really an intangible data cloud that is the web. We're taking everything that we know and we're putting it there. And it's interesting because I'm already seeing now that certain universities in America are beginning to change the way that they actually teach their college courses in order to kind of match this. Rather than having to memorize, equations and phrases and things like that, physicists today are taught how better to find this information on the web and how to research. It's like we're already outsourcing aspects of ourselves and functions of the mind to the web. So just think what's going to happen a few years from now if indeed humans are literally able to take a cable and plug it into our heads like I've got right here apparently already. It's not that far away, really, and we're already seeing the beginnings of that.
You're assimilating. You are Borg. All right, listen.
I'm a Borg.
Laura's got a question for you. Laura, fire away.
I have a question for you. You're right. I'm just wondering. You're saying that I guess if it's UFOs or our future selves coming back to us, basically throwing this knowledge at us and this technology, are they doing this for the sake of bettering us as humanity, or are they or exactly, or them, are they just trying to ultimately destroy us through introducing us to these things that we ultimately cannot control?
I think it's really even simpler than that, Laura. I think that they're really just, they got tired of Xbox 360 and typical video games, and they wanted something that was even more realistic. Take it to the next level. We're going to manipulate actual reality, and we're going to mess with our granddad. So that's what they're doing. No, we can speculate about a lot of different things, but I would like to, if it's someone from the future, we would hope that they would have an altruistic intention in terms of why they would do this sort of a thing. But you've got to keep in mind that the futuristic angle or the time traveler angle that I put forth in the UFO Singularity, it's just one of several potential explanations for some UFO phenomenon. I don't know that I can endorse 100% that our eventual progeny is coming back from the future and dabbling with us and and manipulating us and doing strange things to us at night like so many of the abductees talk about. But it's always a possibility, I guess.
Right, of course. And we're all going to interpret things different ways. Okay, real quick, we did have a tweet of the week this week. Check it out. Almost there. The question was, what everyday technology do you think could be extraterrestrial in origin? We asked the Twitterverse, and this is what you guys said. Christopher said, Velcro, of course. Well documented. Yes, of course, Velcro's alien technology. Misty said, the dryer. Things go in there and are never to be seen again. I'm pretty sure they are transported to another dimension where socks are used for fuel. I get it. Nice one, Misty. Producer Jeff said, the salad shooter. That is absolutely alien technology without any question. Frank said, the Hamilton Beach Frymaster 2000. Absolutely makes sense to me, Frank. And finally, really? Whatever hairdryer that Giorgio Tsoukalos uses on his hair. Yes, that would, of course, be alien technology, too. Thank you guys for following us on Twitter and on Facebook. Micah, we are right up against the end of the show. UFO Singularity, when's it going to happen? You got 20 seconds.
Oh, gosh. Well, not in 20 seconds, then. I'd say maybe in 20 years or so. And if it does happen, well, you heard about it here first on the mothership, right, guys?
Right, that's right. Yay! All right. Micah Hanks, the name of the book is The UFO Singularity. You can find it in respectable bookstores everywhere, GrayAlienReport.com, and his podcast. Thank you so much for being on the mothership. We appreciate it. Till next time, folks, stay odd.
Yeah.